Okay, for the honor of this week ahead, it's Sunday today, and the moon is still out of bounds. It went out of bounds on the 11th, and we'll go back in bounds on the 16th. So, in honor of that moon being out of bounds today, I just want to make sure that the clarity of what it is that we're going to allow to transpire between us in this next week's consideration, recognize that our feelings are, likely to be just a little bit closer to the surface, and there's no shortage of opportunities to feel into that are currently underway on planet Earth. But we have a big aspect that's happening. There's a couple of them this week. One is the sun is going to be shifting out of Aries and into Taurus. That's like getting a new change of clothes. And the type of clothes, something that's loose and comfortable. That's the kind of clothes that, Taurus would feel right at home with. Because after all, one of the key words for Taurus is comfort on multiple levels. And Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is still going to be dancing through Aries. As a matter of fact, it's going to be crossed this week by that retrograding Mercury, which has played a part in a lot of things lately and will be retrograde continuing all the way through this next week until the week after. And then we're going to see a shift and change. But the big aspect, one that it's been in play for a while, but the aspect's going to perfect this next week, and that is Jupiter chugging along in Taurus is going to catch up and be holding hands with Uranus at about 21 degrees of Taurus. So there's a, what should we call it, incentive? It's a big aspect. It's probably one of the more prominent aspects of the entire year that it's worth paying attention to. And we've been kind of inching our way closer to it for quite some time. So the energy is it's not necessarily going to be new for us. It's just going to be a little bit more prominent as we go through this week. Let's go find a chart. Here we go. Here we are, Monday the 15th. You can kind of see we still have a bunch of planets here in Pisces and Aries, just, all jumbled together. Moon over here, still out of bounds, going, and on this day, Monday, this day, is going to be the moon shifting from Cancer to Leo. Because it's only got 5 degrees to go, and it moves about 12 to 13 degrees a day. We begin the week, Mercury shifting backwards is just crossing paths with Chiron. And Chiron was one of the players, as you might remember, in the eclipse, the total solar eclipse that we had last Monday. Are you tuned into the possibility of being a healing vehicle? Or utilizing the healing energy in a way that, it might be beneficial not just to you, but to your soul, which means basically to everything that you encounter here in the Earth Dance experience. Mars is chugging along right here in Pisces. It's left Saturn behind. Well, it's still close enough to Saturn and heading for Neptune. What kind of adventure is that going to bring? So let's dance into the week. You can kind of see the Jupiter Uranus that I was talking about right there. They're holding hands right now for all intents and purposes. On yeah, Moon goes back into bounds on today, on Tuesday. You can kind of see it down here in Leo, early Leo. In one sense, you might be able to breathe a sigh of relief that, there is a potential semblance of mediocrity present. The things aren't flying off the handle, so to speak. We're still in Mercury retrograde cycle time, so clarity is still something that seeking is going to be the key word for it. And finding it, that's not necessarily a guarantee. And it's in Aries, so what kind of information is this? Is this seeking leaning toward? Discovery of self. That is Aries, after all. That impulse and drive to be, to be, to be. Those are the key words for Aries. I am. I have come to be. Da-da-da-da. 17th, here we go. Jupiter has just entered the same degree as Uranus. Jupiter, what does Jupiter mean? Jupiter always means more. I want to grow this experience. I'm going to expand whatever I touch. And right now it's come close. It's been working at this for a while, but it's come close to the conjoining with that, what shall we call it, unpredictable? Perhaps a little wild and crazy Uranian energy. However, Uranus is way more than just that unpredictability kind of energy. There's a reason for Uranus aiming toward so-called unpredictability. And the main reason is that Uranus's function is to make sure that if you become too comfortable in an experience that you're participating in, Uranus comes along and says, oh, by the way, I'm going to take that foundation of what it is that you are so very comfortable with, and I'm going to shake it and rattle it just a little bit, And the reason that Uranus does this is to awaken you to options that you may not have recognized were there for your consideration because, you were so comfortable, It's in Taurus. That's where this is taking place. So comfort is, something that is trying to be achieved. I really want to be comfortable. I want to feel it at home in this experience of being alive. And Uranus is waking you up to the chance that, don't get too comfortable. And what does Jupiter have to say to this as it comes into it? Don't think small, because if you do, it could have ramifications that, you're not going to be too comfortable with. Because I'm going to push that button of, change Uranus is bringing the idea of change at a very dynamic level. It says, don't get too comfortable with what it is that you're doing because there's something else that's trying to put in an appearance. And right now, Mercury's retrograde. Can you see what it is? Not necessarily. Thoughts, yeah, lots of thoughts about options to go this way or that way. But clarity, not necessarily on the table in a fashion that you can just tap into it and say, aha, this is what I want to do. That's the direction I want to go in. What does the Sabian symbol have to say for this particular Jupiter-Uranus dance? White dove flying over troubled waters. Well, there are some troubled waters on planet Earth right now, but then that isn't necessarily out of the question ever, with humans trying to manipulate this, that, and the other thing. And this is in Taurus, the realm of the physical planet that we live in. The keynote to this is the spiritual inspiration that comes to the individual in the overcoming of crises. Have you noticed any crisis lately going on? Is it planet Earth that is the crisis? I don't think so. Human beings, on the other hand, oh my gosh, I think we live for crisis. We invent it. If things get too, smooth, we got to shake things up. And that's the kind of energy that Uranus has. Yeah, let's do that. So here we also have, we're confronted with a symbol of guidance. And the dove flying over troubled waters reminds one of the story of Noah and the ark. Does that story ring any bells? Noah met his and mankind's crisis courageously and in complete obedience to God's promptings. The test completed, he received the dove's message. It is a message from the Holy Spirit announcing a new dispensation. The symbolic sense can be applied to personal crisis resulting from emotional upheavals or from the eruption of unconscious forces and impulses into the consciousness. If the crisis has been faced in the right spirit. Now, Sabian symbols is it's a tool. To take it literally might not be the most appropriate way to utilize its energy. It's more like a song that comes on the radio when you're driving along or walking or anywhere where you can hear a song, and the song reminds you of something that says, oh, wow, that really tunes into something within me. That's the kind of energy we're talking about here. That, Uranus, is there the opportunity there to awaken to something that I may not have been entirely cogent to paying attention to? Jupiter touching Uranus says, it's time to wake up, and it's in Taurus. Are you aware of the ramifications of what it is that I do in my life affect this planet? Your neighborhood. I get the I got this image of someone's driving along. It wouldn't be you or me, of course. Someone's driving along and they finish their candy bar, chuck the wrapper right out the window, and I want in that moment to have a burning sensation happen in the palm of that person who chucked that piece of litter out the window without a thought, to burn an impression, like leaving a what do they call that? A brand, like they do on cattle, on your hand. It's that kind of energy, that it may be required to actually awaken people to the footprint that we create as we, traverse the surface of this marvelous marble in space that we live upon. We could talk about Jupiter and Uranus at length. This is probably one of the more substantial aspects of the entire year, and it's been in a while, basically present as something that is, hovering around in the peripheral of whatever is going on, saying, God, I feel a little uncomfortable. There's that Uranus kind of feeling like maybe there's something that I'm missing and I need to waken up to, but I don't know what it is. Jupiter touching it is saying, pay attention. Can you hear that tonal quality that is sounding, oftentimes seeming like it's way in the background? But when Jupiter and Uranus come into this conjunction this week, it's not going to be in the background. It's right there in front of you. Pay attention. And as the week progresses, here we are on Thursday, the Jupiter day. By the way, Jupiter day. And you can kind of see Jupiter and Uranus are getting closer together. Much closer together. We go to Friday, which is a Venus day, and a Venus day is absolutely appropriate because the sun shifts from Aries into Taurus, ruled by Venus, on a Venus day. Venus in Aries. There's just like, maybe a little discomfort that might be in the air because Venus wants to feel it wants to be spoiled with, pleasure, tasting things that are absolutely delightful to the taste buds. This is essential Taurus. Venus in Aries, having just been crossed by Mercury retrograde, might not have a clarity of thoughts as to just what is it that is transpiring. My thoughts, they jumble so easily. Mercury is retrograde. It's highly likely that this is just a way of life for the moment. Saturday, jumbled thoughts. Saturday comes along. We're going into the weekend. This is the weekend, and sun is settling in, if you will, to this new set of clothes. And because Venus is in Aries still, there might be some flair that this new set of clothes, comfortable as they are, may incline us toward. That nice, Hawaiian loose, comfortable shirt with an erupting volcano and birds of paradise plants on either side, you know. You feel that Aries Taurus mix in there. I'm comfortable, you know, tuning into that kind of energy of dragons, birds of paradise plants, and an erupting volcano. Kilauea. Can you feel that energy? Anyway, here we are on Saturday. You can kind of see Jupiter and Uranus. They're only 4 minutes apart. This weekend that's coming, this next week, pay very close attention, you know. You could be sensing that there is a potential discomfort that is saying, you know, I want you to go in this direction. And at the same time, you might have this feeling like, why would I want to go in that direction? You know, there's a rattling and a rumbling underneath that's saying, you know, don't get too comfortable with the ideas because there's something else that's trying to put in an appearance. Are you paying attention? And Jupiter is saying, pay attention to the experiences that I'm going to be showing you. Opportunity is knocking to, you know, expand anything. And this doesn't just necessarily mean that it's expanding only those beneficial things. It expands anything it touches. Here we are expanding the idea of, you know, potentially discomfort, you know, because it isn't always necessarily comfortable when Uranus comes knocking, and, you know, a Uranus knocking can have the shake, rattle, and roll of an earthquake taking place. And Jupiter's saying, well, let her rip. I mean, how important are those things that we have made that they cannot be just taken back down to their roots again, only to be rebuilt, perhaps in a more, you know, structurally sound form that is less likely? Well, even as I say that, less likely, I don't know that that's really a possibility. And just, you know, to add a little spice into the mix, here we go into Sunday. You know, a day of the sun. And what do we have? We have the sun down here at 2 degrees of Taurus in an almost exact square to Pluto up here at 2 degrees of Aquarius. Squares are not necessarily easy aspects. They demand something that is, you know, in the square structured aspect of things can be challenging. And it's Pluto, the so-called ruler of the underworld. You know, might there be transition underway? At least there's some level of, you know, shaking, which, you know, our Jupiter Uranus is like saying, hey, I'm on board. I'm ready to shake. And Jupiter's saying, let it rip. Pluto's saying, by the way, you know, while I'm, you know, in this tight square to the sun, the king, you know, I have some things that I've discovered, you know, about factors in play that you may not have necessarily been aware of, but have a lot to offer if you're paying attention. Pluto says, I came to awaken you to the possibility that there's something very, very significant that you don't want to overlook. if you're willing to, in a solar fashion, expand your understanding of really being in tune with your place in the divine design. Ooh, that's a whole lot to contemplate there. Sometimes, perhaps it's the Mercury retrograde, but I think it's more like it's me. I'm born with Mercury retrograde. I'm liable to say things that sometimes I don't know where they come from. And, you know, Selah, that is just the way it is. Que sera, sera. Now, this Pluto square Sun to close out this week, it's deep. Ruler of the underworld, in square to the Sun, that vibrational energy, that vibrancy of life, essence of kingship or queenship. In Taurus, our foundation of being tuned into Mother Earth. Is it conceivable? I think that it is. That there are factors in play right now vying for our attention, Jupiter and Uranus, because things are not as stable as we might hope they are, that we should pay attention to, because they have everything to do with our appropriate longer footprint as we walk this earth plane. And with any luck, we could expand our soul awareness, one with each other, one with this planet that we live on, but at a soul level, one with the entire cosmos. That's the energy I'm going to leave you with for today. And there's some things to think about there. I can't give you all the answers in a general perspective that, each one of you is going to tune into. Because this is, when I'm doing these weeklies, I'm looking at, this is a planetary-wide, celestial-wide dance move that's taking place. Whereas, sitting down with the individuals and their charts is an entirely unique backdrop within which each of us, in particular, is brought face to face with our own soul shortcomings, long trajectories that I'm not going to see when I'm looking at humanity in these weeklies in a fashion that could do justice to each one of us individually. So if you're interested in a chart reading, please reach out. I guarantee you, it's highly likely you will be surprised at what we can uncover. That's all for tonight, actually today. And from Uluru, out here at Ayers Rocks, I bid you adieu. See you all next week.